Hi there, I'm Radhika Dhawad and welcome to Dialogue at Nation Next. Today, everyone in Afghanistan is at a war against the Taliban. The youth, the women, the men, and even children are preparing themselves for a civil war against the Taliban, a war against ideologies, and even reclaiming themselves from the Taliban. Today, I'm in conversation with a 25-year-old student from Afghanistan who's currently studying in Delhi. He is Hameed Bakhshi. Unfortunately, Hamid's family is one of the distraught families in Afghanistan who had to flee Afghanistan after the Taliban took over Kabul. Hameed, a very warm welcome.
Thank you very much. I would like to use your platform, offer my regards to everyone watching.
Hameed, how are you? I mean, I'm sure the past 1 week must have been terrible for you and your family members. So, how have you been and how's your family?
Well, it has been a very troubling week, not just for me, for most of the students or the ones who are living in India, as they have family members back in Afghanistan. And they have been following, I have been following the news very closely through social media and through the news platforms. Well, we are feeling safe, but when we think about the people in Afghanistan, that shatters us and that really upsets us that our people are in such a trouble crisis and they have no way out.
I'm sure now, are you in contact with your family members now?
Well, my family is safe, and I do have other family members like my uncle, their daughter, their children. They are still in trouble back in Afghanistan. Most of them used to work for UN, and I think they are trying to get out. But as you are aware of the Kabul airport and the crowd, it's been a bit hectic for the US Army to arrange a proper rescue mission for them. And you also know that the Taliban being there also trying to hurt or trying to upset people by making random shots, gunfires, and trying to beat them, all of that. It's kind of a trouble time for people, people who are living, especially the women.
Hamid, I know it's a difficult question to answer, but if we just recount that horror, like unfortunately, your family and so many others had to go through. How was that moment when they had to flee Afghanistan? Like you were living in a particular place for years, and then you just have to flee from that place. How was that? Like when your family described it, how was it? What did they actually go through?
Their problems and they had their fears staying in there, knowing that we have lived in 20 years of peace, even though it wasn't a complete peace, there has been sorts of problems like explosions or attacks in certain places, but experiencing such a huge attack that and another governing party or Islamic state, so-called Islamic state, they come over and take your government and your everything, the army, the government, the politicians, or the high authorities. They just vanish in thin air. So that is really, that's kind of concerning for everyone, that how did all happen and how can they adjust in the new regime that's coming over or that's taking over their land. How they're gonna adopt the rules, their regulations, their laws, because they say they have so-called Islamic law, but in certain steps of Islam, if you see it, they're not even close to Islamic law. They are kind of extremist law, which they want to forcefully apply on the civilians so that they can have independent government from everyone else.
The videos, the shocking visuals that we saw from Kabul airport, your family must have shared that ordeal with you. And what was the struggle for them once they left Afghanistan and to find a new living? What are those struggles?
Well, it was hard for them. You also must have seen the videos from the airport. There has been lots of people trying to climb walls or trying to push themselves, especially the ones with the children. They're trying to help themselves first. And even though the American army, they're trying to help them, but there are so many people that they cannot control. and everyone is pushing to get in the flight and get out as quick as possible. So luckily, my family got the opportunity to get out because my brother was in U.S. Army for working with a company who was supporting the U.S. Army for about 12 years. So he was one of the lucky ones uh, with the others who have left, but they have been placed in certain other places because they have not been taken straight to United States. The applications are on process. They are taken to certain camps, and after the full process, they will be guided either to US or they will be led back to Afghanistan. So that's still not for sure.
Oh, okay. Ahmed, Ashraf Ghani, as we all know, like he had fled Afghanistan as soon as Taliban took over Kabul. So, how was he as a leader, if you could tell us?
As a leader, what he did for the country at the time that he was, when he didn't have much of the support that Hameed Karzai had, is very much appreciating. Like he made dams, he had good relationship with neighboring countries, excluding Pakistan, and he was a good person overall. You can say people loved him, people supported him through his missions and all. But at the end time, when he fled the country, leaving the people vulnerable to such a humiliating and ignorant force, that that really that really shocked people, and they weren't expecting that a president with having a very strong army equipped with latest gadgets and all that would do such a thing and surrender or run away from the country and submitting the people or putting the people through misery of this terrorist group.
The Taliban is of the view that Ashraf Ghani can come back. So, what is your view? Like, should he come back? Like, is there anything? Is there a hidden message behind it?
Well, we can't say anything. As we see in social media or we see the TV channels, they've been given promises. Like we pardon all the military people, we have pardoned all the people who have worked in previous governments, and we have no vengeance against anyone or any enmity against anyone. We want to make a secular and an independent country where everyone's involved, including the women and everything. But seeing, having the experience of past Taliban in 90s and having the experience of the same Taliban when they give the promises, people mostly think that these are just the promises to put their foothold, to make a foothold in Afghanistan and have a proper government in there. Once they establish that government, then they can do whatever they want. It's their choice. They can either kill the army people or they can, do anything, whatever they can do to harm people.
How do you look at the situation right now in Afghanistan for women? How about safety? What is your take on this?
Well, at the moment, so as I have heard, they're saying women's rights will be, observed. They will be helped to work in government and have their proper education and all that. But we don't know about the future. It's not for certain, it's not for sure that they will actually apply what they have said. Right now, women are fine. They have not been hurt or misused or been, targeted for anything. But they still have their fears. It's their right to have fear because it's a government which in past did not have a woman right. You must know that the girls were allowed to study up to 10th standard, and after that they should have been at home and wore the burqa, the chadri they call it in Afghanistan. And at the moment, they have said you can provide the laws of Islam and have your hijab, Islamic hijab, and the rest you're free. But in future, we don't know.
Because we've read that women are not allowed to step out without unless they're accompanied by a male member. They're not allowed to work.
At the moment, women are not afraid to go out or have a proper living. They don't need a companion to walk them through the streets and all that. They can go to their works once the government started, or they can pursue their education once the government started. But the future is not set.
Something that they're just trying to keep everyone happy by doing this initially, by agreeing to what people want and then eventually doing what they want.
Actually, they must be doing such a thing. They have always suffered from Taliban the most. So they are saying it, so-called the women right. They are trying to do well. We are hoping that they do provide the women right, not just to women, to every Afghan civilian. If it's a woman, a child, or a man, they must have a proper living in peace and all, and they can have their job and all that. But no one trusts Taliban. They're not trustworthy because they didn't come from Afghanistan. They're just someone who doesn't belong to Afghanistan. They were never forced to govern the country at first place. Never. Even in the past, they tried to take the country by force. And occupying a country by force does not give a right to a group of people to govern the country.
Which is the biggest fear that people, Afghanis, have of Taliban?
The biggest fear is the previous regime of Taliban, the old one. That's the biggest fear. Because they used to beat people for no reason. They don't like you, they'll just take you to a phone and lash you with their lashes. That's even the children, even the women, no education or proper education. You are bound to certain laws which are not acceptable. Neither it's not acceptable to any religion, not just Islam. You are bound to certain rules and regulations in the country that you must strictly follow, like having a beard long, having a turban, and all that. You're bound to pray 5 times. These things. That's the thing that people fear the most from Taliban. If they go back to their old life, to the life where they have experienced the misery once, and they don't want to experience it.
Now, do you think there's an uncertainty of one's life in Afghanistan now?
Sure, there are. Well, as I have heard, and as I have been following the social media, I see a lot of video clips
Yeah.
from the soldiers, from the army people. They being captured and they being executed in public, literally being shot by guns, by like 10 or 20 Talibs. They just keep shooting at a single person body, and that is horrifying. I saw it at 3 o'clock at night. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't breathe literally for 10 minutes, and I was like, "How can they be so cruel? How can they do such a thing to another human being? They call themselves Muslim, and the other person is also a Muslim, and they want to protect the people, and the other person was protecting the people. They were not fighting it for power. They were not fighting it for any greed or anything. They were fighting it to protect their land, their people, their honor. But you come here, arrest them, and then execute them in the public, make an example that they have worked for the previous government and fought against us. So this is not humanitarian. This is not civil. This is like no way, peaceful. No way peaceful. So this is another fear that Afghan army who have worked with Afghanistan have, because they have been searching houses to find the army authorities. Well, I do have some family friends. They are not close relatives, but we do know them, and they have worked for the government. And they also searched the house of Afghan ambassador in Tajikistan, Mr. Mohammed Bahir, because he's a part of the government and he's a part of Northern resistance force as well. They were searching for him. They were searching for his brother-in-laws and all that, so that they can, arrest them and then execute them, because they used to fight against the Taliban.
Hamid, speaking about Sharia laws, Talibanis are claiming that we are abiding by the Sharia laws and everyone else has to abide by that too. You respect Islam, you follow Islam. So, how do you look at someone who is maybe not able to understand the true meaning of Islam?
Well, I can't blame anyone who does not understand the true meaning of Islam, but I blame their incompetency to try to understand the actual meaning of it. So following a path ignorantly, or if you heard from someone, said something to someone, and then he said something to another, and then you follow that path, that's an ignorant path. Islam allows people to question the rules, regulations, why is it there, why it is used, for what reason. And Islam is not an extremist religion. It's mainly a peaceful religion. They allow you to do whatever you want in your life. You know, they say educate yourself, do business, uh, be in government, be pious, be honest, be peaceful, don't harm another soul, don't be greedy, don't be arrogant, and all. But where we see the Taliban, they know the meaning of Islam, but they change that meaning to their own interpretation so that they can rule with their own extremist laws on the people. They are not from Afghanistan, because the people from Afghanistan, they do not believe the Islam that they believe. You know, if if Islam is what they believe, then you know we actually are not a Muslim like them. We don't believe in Islam in such a way that to be cruel, to be killing, to be, you know, very much of something which is opposite of what the teachings of our Prophet is. So they have made an own interpretation of Islam, and they are trying to enforce that on the people.
How do you plan to reconnect and reunite with your family? You are here, your family is elsewhere, so the struggle is for real.
Well, the struggle is for real, actually. And I have been in a Doma, I have been in stress for past couple of months. I have been in really like a shattering form of stress that I couldn't hold myself. But then I do have the assurance of my family that, you know, everything will be fine. It's family, obviously, they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you're going to be fine. But end of the day, you're the one who needs to understand that what's going on and how you're going to pursue your path. So, well, I have tried to reconnect with my brother in Turkey, but I couldn't because of my visa being expired soon. It's going to expire end of September, and my passport being due. So the Afghan embassy, which is closed at the moment, and I have already applied for a new passport to get from them, but they are closed, and it's been 2 months that I haven't heard anything from them. So I've been contacting them every day to get a hold of them, and just make sure that when is it going to arrive so I can proceed further. Because I have no family members like brothers or sisters in Afghanistan. So I would rather not be in there because my all family is outside. Uh, they are supporting me morally, mentally, financially. But end of the day, I have to take off some of the pain of their plate as well. And I have to help myself. So I'm hoping that everything gets better. I get my documents before my visa expires from here, and I get to go out.
I mean, but things get better in Afghanistan, and you never know. Like a peaceful situation, you just realize that this is not what we had expected, and it's actually a peace-loving country now again. Would you ever think of going back with your family?
Of course, without any doubt, if it is a peace loving, if everything gets better, normalized, there's no war, there's no cruelty on civilians or on people or anyone, and there's no such a Sharia law that it binds you to a rule and regulation which is not, acceptable by people, and you have the freedom of speech, you have the freedom of choosing what you want to do in the boundaries of law. Yeah, of course, because the country is undeveloped even at the moment. They need a lot of they need their youth to build the country from the scratch, make things better for the country, I myself studied electrical and electronics engineering. It is because Afghanistan gets their electricity from Uzbekistan. So they don't have any, they have source of producing electricity, but not enough which could help all the country to be sustainable. So it was my goal to graduate and then head back and then support the government and help and build something which can be of use for people and I be of service to my people. But looking at the current situation, no one is hoping that it will get better.
Thank you so much, Hameed. Thank you for joining with us, and more power to you.
Thank you very much.
Subscribe to Nation Next YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get regular updates from Nation Next. Also like Nation Next Facebook page and follow us on Instagram and Twitter.